Hi, I'm Jeff with Clearwater Plumbers.
And I'm Brian with Clearwater Plumbers.
So we're talking about the 8 things every homeowner should know about water, their drinking water, how it relates to them. One of the things we're going to talk about now is smell. So Brian, on smell, we get some customers, and I'll hear them in the office, they'll call and they'll say, rotten eggs, water smells terrible. Where does that come from? Who's calling and saying that? Is it city water? Is it well water?
Normally speaking, it's well water. We get the occasional city call, but 9 times out of 10, if somebody says that their water stinks, it's coming from a well.
Got it. And what do you think? I'd say that's one of the most common problems. And a lot of people, I think they have that smell. It comes and goes. They don't know it can be fixed. And I think it's almost embarrassing if you have friends come over and you kick on the water and, the smells.
It smells about like rotten eggs.
I mean rotten eggs.
Yes. It's awesome when you get that fresh, clear glass of drinking water and you go down to drink it, and well, your nose is right there in the glass. Mm-hmm. All of a sudden, you're not that thirsty.
Right. So what causes that smell, or what is that smell?
Normally speaking, we're looking at hydrogen sulfide.
Hydrogen sulfide.
Hydrogen
is
sulfide
the gas that you're smelling. Mm-hmm. Okay.
And that can come from just trapped gas in the earth that the water's pulling up with it, and it will a well can produce it. It's also a byproduct of certain types of bacteria.
And so there's the hydrogen sulfide, and then there's a chance of bacteria in a well casing.
Right.
And then there's also related specifically to water heaters.
Right.
And I guess on those, if they had a problem, you have a suggestion?
Well, if we're actually looking at like bacteria, for example, in a well casing, then at that point, really it's a situation of shocking the well, and this is a treatment that we can do annually or say once every 2 years, and it will keep that at bay for a lengthy period of time. But a lot of times that has to do with your landscape and where your house is located. It seems like houses that are closer to the lake deal with a lot more organics, and therefore there's a lot more bacteria that can grow in those casings. They're also at a much lower altitude than many of the other places. Rainwater and runoff can get into those well casings. Now, that happens sometimes. It's fixed with shocking, but one of the biggest things that we have around here due to the hard water, limestone deposits, and everything that's in the ground is that trapped gas underneath that comes back up with that water. And the thing is, the water cannot disperse the trapped gas until it reaches the atmosphere. So when it comes out of your faucet, that's when it's going to kind of just go poof, and you're going to smell it.
Right. And so a lot of people don't know it, but we can fix that. And do you know what's one way typically? Now, I think the big deal though is if somebody's got smelly water, they need to give us a holler, and then we can go out there and take a look and see what's going on, and we can hook them up with the right solution. But what's one way we can solve it?
So one way that we definitely take care of hydrogen sulfide gas is with a self-aerating sediment filter. Mm-hmm. This guy right here. This is a 2 cubic foot self-aerating sediment filter. So basically what's going to happen when the water enters this tank, the first probably 2/3 of this tank is going to be empty. It's going to be it's going to have an air pocket in there. So instead of that water coming out of your faucet and that being the first place it reaches atmosphere, it's going to reach atmosphere right here. And so it's actually going to diffuse all that gas right here inside this tank instead of in your house. After that, then it does have a 5 micron media bed in there where it's going to go through, and any of that sediment and anything that comes out with a well that comes from a well will get pulled out again down to 5 microns.
Yeah, I think this is an awesome setup. We have one here at our shop, and we've been at this location since 75, right? 1975, and growing up out here, we'd kick the water on, rotten egg city. Didn't know how to fix it. We just dealt with it, and it was really, again, it's kind of embarrassing. We'd have somebody come over here. My dad had a construction company. They'd want a cup of coffee. You kick the faucet on, and it would be like, oh God, there we go, you know. But so like Brian's saying, it's running through this air bubble, and then that sediment filter on the bottom, 5 microns in a human hair is what?
100.
About 100 microns. So that filters, and I mean, how does that operate? You set it, and tell me a little bit about that. Does it require any?
As far as maintenance or service, not really. Once this thing is set up, it's fully automated. It's on a timer. We set it for every 1 to 3 days, and it's going to backwash itself. It's going to replenish that air pocket in there every 1 to 3 days as well. So it actually resets itself.
It's set it and forget it.
Exactly. We set it, we walk away.
Yeah. And one thing that I've seen, and you know, as people try to educate themselves, and there's so much information out there on the internet, and some people, you know, you get a carbon filter, and a lot of people think chlorine, taste, and odor. That'll take care of that, right? So some people will think that, oh, I can get a carbon filter like this, and I can take care of this hydrogen sulfide smell. And to some point, I don't know, it may work or not to a little point, but can you imagine somebody putting in a filter like this and thinking it's going to solve it, when really what they need is just an air pocket that they never have to change? It just takes care of itself, or they could be changing these things every week and hoping it does the best thing.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
And the thing is, if you've got trapped gas, carbon's not going to do a thing for that. Basically, it's going to travel right through, and again, it's going to reach atmosphere and emit.
So this air pocket regenerates, and yeah, it's awesome. And even on a sprinkler system, where somebody's got irrigation running through it, I think it helps filter out some of the sediment for that.
Well, and another thing that this is really good for is iron, but I think we're going to get into that a little later.
Yeah. So bottom line is, for smell, if you've got odors, if you've got bad smelling water, give us a call. Let us help you with that. But definitely can be fixed. It's not some embarrassing thing you have to live with, for sure.
Got to do what you ought to, got to call clear water.